Good Monday morning and welcome to the Order of Monday Morning. It is also, as I'm sure all of you know and have been preparing feast days of, today is National Rubber Ducky Day. Now, in our bathroom is a cupboard, and in that cupboard we store toilet tissue. And in front of the stacks of white toilet paper, we have an assortment of bathtub rubber duckies, which we refer to as the Great White Brotherhood because of the color of the toilet tissue. I thought you would appreciate that, and this is one of them. Some of them have little crowns and everything else, but if whoever makes up these the national holidays wants to make one up for rubber duckies, we have a rubber ducky story. Anyway, be that as it may, hope you had a great weekend. People in Southern California, particularly affected by the fires. I know you're gearing up for what is forecast to be a severe wind event again, and I want you all to be safe and don't take any chances. Okay, it's a very, very sad and scary thing that's going on there in Los Angeles County, and hopefully not beyond that. Anyway, I'm just going to share something about one of the finest, one of the deepest, one of the most intense book by Aleister Crowley that doesn't get all that much attention, and it's Liber Aleph. Okay, Vel 111. Okay, or 111. It's a strange book. Okay, there's 208 one-page verses. Okay, and it was written as an epistle to Charles Stanfield Jones, Frederick Codd. Well, let me start at the beginning. Okay. Crowley, who after the reception of the Book of the Law and various other personal initiations, took on the mantle, or assumed the mantle of magus. In other words, he had crossed the abyss here, and then now assumed the next role of magus of the aeon. Okay, where it's a big thing, but if we look at it as levels of consciousness and cosmic duties that come with operating on that level of consciousness, there's Crowley right there. Now, in a sense, the Crowley that was the master of the temple now has created a vacuum here. Okay. You went over here, there's a vacuum. And he was purposefully trying to incarnate, literally, a baby that would be his magical child, and on all sorts of levels, and on the level that he was literally trying to do it on the physical plane, would be like the conception of a magical baby. Okay, and he was working on that magical operation with Jean Foster, I believe, Soror Hilarion or something like that, and literally trying to can magically conceive a child with the full intent of bringing forth a master of the temple, or a magical child. Okay, and it seemed unsuccessful. Okay, they didn't conceive a child. The relationship, predictably, kind of fell apart. And then he got a telegram from Vancouver, from Jones, announcing that Jones had taken the oath of the abyss, and now is claiming the title Master of the Temple. And I don't know if it was 9 months later. It was close enough for Crowley to say, okay, it happened on this plane. Yes, this talented magician and AA student is my magical child. Okay, and Jones is bright enough and brilliant enough and serious enough about his magical process that it became clear to Crowley, I think I've got my magical child here. Okay. And he was excited because, in a sense, it sort of validated his magical world view of the AA program. Now, this was before Crowley wrote the comment, the Class A comment on the Book of the Law, that says study of this book is forbidden. You can't talk about it. Run from people who talk about it, kind of thing. So Jones, as far as his work was concerned, was quite openly discussing and interpreting the contents of the Book of the Law, because at the time that proscription wasn't enforced, and Jones did marvelous things. He literally broke the key, or one of the main keys of the Book of the Law. Okay, he was just excelling in his role as Crowley's magical child, and eventually that sort of fell apart. Okay, and perhaps that Class A comment about the study of this book is forbidden, it's wise to destroy this copy at the first reading. Crowley might have, at least in the back of his mind, have been thinking about Akkad when he wrote that comment. But anyway, Crowley wrote while he was still on fire with excitement about his magical child. He wanted to write, let's see, he wanted to write an epistle, a book of advice, if you will, from the position of a Magus teacher talking to the new son right here. Now, Hokmah here on the is called wisdom, and we'll hear the word, I speak to you from wisdom so that you understand. Okay. Many years later, Jones would write a marvelous little book about the Kabbalah called QBL. And in that QBL, Akkad really sticks his necks out. He turns the tree of life upside down, kind of as far as things go. And also in that book, sort of sets knowledge as the summit of spiritual development. Knowledge, okay? And knowledge is the word for da'ath. Okay? Magus is wisdom. Master of the temple is understanding. Knowledge, the height of knowledge. There's nothing wrong with the height of knowledge, okay? But you can't think yourself into master of the temple. It has to be, okay, transcendent. Or at least in that model. Be that as it may, some of Crowley's best shit is poured out in 208 little lessons to Frater Akkad during the white heat of that period for both of them. And Karl Germer, back in the 1972, I believe, or it was published in 1972, in the 60s, took a painstakingly typewritten manuscript, and with the help and probably financial support of Marcella Mota, published a Liber Aleph, a beautiful big edition of it. Of course, it was limited edition, and hardly anybody read it, except a few hardcore Thelemites. But then in, let's see what the date is on this one. This was the 1991 edition, published with a fabulous introduction by Hymenaeus Beta of the OTO, and editing scholarship of Martin Starr, and it's really a wonderful edition. And it was published by Weiser for a short time. And this is the edition that you're likely to be able to locate in collector's item kind of prices at the moment. Liber Aleph, the Book of Wisdom or Folly. Now, Akkad means one. Okay. And one is Aleph, you know. Anyway, I'm just going to share with you the opening preface, Crowley's, which is considered the first of these epistles, and the second one, where he talks about the importance of the Kabbalah. Okay, this is an AA publication in Class B. so we can, but it's really cool stuff. And he writes in this archaic kind of language that is kind of difficult for dolts like myself. And the capitalizations are curious. You can sort of see what he's talking about when he says the words wisdom, the word understanding, where he is referring to an extra Kabbalistic meaning behind the word. And sometimes I just thought, well, why the hell did he capitalize that? Okay. I have begotten thee, O my son, and that strangely, as thou knowest, upon scarlet woman called Hilarion, as it was mysteriously foretold unto me in the book of the law. Now, therefore, that thou art come to the age of understanding, you art come to the age of understanding, do thou give ear unto my wisdom. Okay. For that therein lieth a simple and direct way for every man, that he may attain to the end. Firstly, then, I would have thee know that spiritual experience and perfection have no necessary connection with advancement in our holy order. But for each man is a path. There is a constant and there is a variable. Seek ever, therefore, in thy work of the promulgation of the law, to discover in each man his own nature. For in each man his utmost light is the core of his star, that is, Hadit. And his work is the identification of himself with that light. In one sentence, for in each man his inmost light is the core of his star, that is Hadit, and his work is the identification of himself with that light. It is not every man who is called to the sublime task of the AA, wherein he must master thoroughly every detail of the great work, so that he may in due season accomplish it not only for himself, but for all who are bound to him, unto him. There are very many for whom, in their present incarnation, this great work may be impossible, since their appointed work may be in satisfaction of some magical debt, or adjustment of some balance, or a fulfillment of some defect, as it is written, some kukik, to each his own. Now because thou art the child of my bowels, I yearn greatly toward thee, O my son, and I strive strongly with my spirit, that by my wisdom I may make plain thy way before thee. And thus in many chapters will I write for thee these things that may profit thee. Sis Benedictus. Be blessed. Okay. And he goes on to do exactly what's advertised. Some of the titles here are they're written in Latin up at the top with on the art of the Kabbalah, on the corrected life, fables of love, the history of love, final thesis on love, On comprehending one's nature, more on the way of nature, on dreams, external, on dreams, innate causes, on dreams, clothed with horror, on dreams, okay, on travel through the Empyrean, okay. It goes on and on and on truth and falsehood, relations and illusions. The reason in the on reason in the life of the magician. Hang on for a second. I'm going to look at that one. Let me rediscover this with you. On reason in the life of the magician. Study thou long, which is the code of the law of thought. Excuse me. Study thou logic. Excuse me, that didn't make sense. Study thou logic, which is the code of the laws of thought. Study the method of science, which is the application of logic to the facts of the universe. Think not that thou canst ever abrogate these laws, for though they be limitations, they are the rules of thy game which thou dost play. For in thy trances, though thou becomest that which is not subject to these laws, they are still final in respect of those things which thou hast set them to govern. Nay, O my son, this word govern liketh me not, for the law is but the statement of the nature of the thing to which it applieth. For nothing is compelled, save only by virtue of its own true will. So therefore human law is a statement of the will and of the nature of man, or else it is a falsity contrary thereunto, and becometh null and of none effect. Okay. I'm just going to leave you with one of the very shortest ones. But the one that Crowley thought after that preface was the most important thing for his new magical son to hear. On the art of the cabala. Do thou study most constantly, my son, in the art of the holy cabala. Know that therein the relations between numbers, though they be mighty and powerful prodigal of knowledge, are but lesser things. For the work is to reduce all other conceptions to these of number, because thou wilt lay bare the very structure of thy mind, whose rule is necessity rather than prejudice. Not until the universe is thus laid naked before thee canst thou truly anatomize it. The tendencies of thy mind lie far deeper than any thought, for they are the conditions and the laws of thought, and it is these that thou must bring to naught. This way is most sure, most sacred, and the enemies thereof most awful, most sublime. It is for the great souls to enter on this rigor and austerity. To them the gods themselves do homage, for it is the way of utmost purity. And when Jones or Akkad wrote that QBL, I think Crowley would have been proud, at least of the first 3/4 of it. Before Jones took a detour. It's not a bad detour, okay, but it was enough for Crowley to say, "Ooh, I don't know any more about this guy." Anyway, I wrote in the introduction, my introduction to QBL, what I thought was a nice kind of analysis of that whole sequence of events, and you might be interested in that. Certainly, if you haven't read Akkad's QBL, and you're interested in that kind of stuff, you owe it to yourself, because it's a marvelous work in and of itself. Well, anyway, that's it for today. Enjoy the rest of your International Rubber Ducky festivities, and we'll see you tomorrow, probably from some kind of parking lot. Until then, continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.